think about visual art journals, paintings, assemblages and more? If you like it like I do, then you are right here. Hi, I'm Bea Grob and I love to inspire you. Hey everybody, welcome back to my studio. So glad you joined me today for another video. Now, for this video I was playing with my scraps or getting rid of some of my scraps and made bookmarks. All kind of papers I have used, but purely my own gel printed or the roll of papers. Sometimes the roll of papers I keep them too because they are too nice to throw out. What else did I make? I did make, you're gonna see it in the video, it's as always gonna be a time lapse, and I also gonna edit out some parts because I don't think you need me seeing coloring in 12 heads or making 12 bodies or making 12 arms. I think I just give you the main thing so that you can actually reproduce it if you like it, if you are inspired. What did I use? I said already jelly prints. I did paint, you're gonna see that, a piece of red paper to make the little hearts. I did use I did use my stamps. One of them is those. You still can have those stamps over on my website. I did use this face and this face mainly, so check it out if you're interested in having the same face. For the coloring in, I did use watercolor pens and watercolors, and as you can see I also went around with the sewing machine. To glue down I did use a simple glue stick, and then I made 2 holes to give some arms to my bookmark girls. Now what I'm gonna do with them? Well, some I'm gonna give away, but some I also gonna take with me to my shows I do and hopefully sell off some of them. Now it is not my original idea. I actually did see it on Pinterest, and it is from Catherine Wheel, I guess that's what she called herself. She does a lot of jelly printing videos for gel press, I think, and I'm gonna put the link to her blog post where she has this featured in the description if I don't forget. If I forget and you want to know it, just remind me in the comments. Talking about comments, I do love nice comments. I do love if you hit the thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed yet, I love if you subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Now I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope to see you soon again. Take care. Bye. Okay, let's dive in, shall we? I did start with cutting up some mixed media paper, scrap pieces of mixed media paper, which was roughly 120 pound or 250 gram per square meter. I do have that from Amsterdam, and the size of the pieces are 5 by 14 centimeters or 2 by 5.5 inch. That became the base or the body of the girl, the bookmark girl, and now I'm using the same mixed media paper for stamping some faces which are from my stamp line. And I recommend mixed media paper because it has a nice smooth surface. Watercolor paper would be a little bit too bumpy to have clear prints, and for once I want the clear print. Now I didn't bother about making enough room between the whole body of this stamp because I knew I only wanted the head. As I mentioned, I did edit out quite a chunk of me stamping and cutting and all those things, so you don't have to watch me doing over and over the same thing. To cut out, I did use some punches. If you don't have those kind of punches, if the size doesn't fit, you certainly can use just your scissors and cut them by hand. Now for the next stamp, I needed a larger punch. Now onto the clothing for my little bookmark girl. I did use a roll of papers and prints that didn't go so well, scraps from jelly prints, and just did cut it in different sizes of strips. I didn't care to have them all the same size. I just wanted them random width. To glue those strips to my bodies, I did use a simple glue stick, and as you can see, I did it always in two pieces together at the same time, just to save me some time. Now I do keep those small pieces which I did cut off because they come in handy for additional decoration later. We are not done yet. For me at the moment it looks still a little bit boring, just those three strips of different paper, so I'm gonna go into my little tiny pieces and just add them in random places where I think they fit, where they make a little bit of a contrast, just to get something more. Good mixed media pieces needs a lot of layers, so here I'm adding another layer with one of my stencils, which you still can have in my shop. I'm using plain gesso. If you don't have gesso, you certainly can use like a white paint. And as you also can see, I don't fill out the whole pattern, I just put it in some places. I even have some of those star shape like forms just partially stenciled. I think again it makes it more interesting. Now for my next layer, I'm using again my own stamps and a black StazOn ink. I prefer the StazOn ink because it is permanent. I would say any permanent ink is fine. Now I have a sewing machine specific for those kind of projects, for my craftsy, artsy stuff, not for the real sewing. I have a really basic sewing machine. You don't need those fancy machines where you have a ton of embroidery stitches or thing like that. I mostly use the straight stitch and maybe a zigzag stitch. I rarely use, also it is a basic machine. It still have like 5 or 6 embroidery stitches, but I never use them. So I just go around the body with the simple straight stitch once and then call it done. Now I know a lot of people don't have a sewing machine. They still could do the hand embroidery, also that's a lot of work, I admit. But maybe instead you could use your ink pad and go along the edges with black, just to give the little punch of black, just makes it a little bit more interesting. And yes, in the background you can see my cat. She is peacefully snoring away. She doesn't seem to bother by this rather loud sewing machine. Now I also want some quotes again from my own stamp set, and just using again my StazOn, and again I'm using a mixed media paper because it is a smooth paper which makes it easier to stamp. I knew I wanted some red heart punched out, so I did use some, I think it was a pyrrole red. I have used acrylic paint and just using a strip to color in some red. Now time to color in the faces. I do use the Koi watercolor brushes. You can use what you have on hand. If I want the colors to be a little bit lighter, I apply them to the plastic lid, it's a food container, and then pick it up with my water tank brush. Sometimes if I wanted really deep colors, I use it directly because they are brush pens, so you can actually paint in right with them. Here I decided to zoom in quite a bit so that you actually can see what I do exactly. I also add some highlights into the eyes with the white Posca marker. Of course, I also have to cut out my words or quotes. Sometimes they are just words, sometimes they are little quotes. And then it is time to add those heads. I did punch out the same sizes for the heads, just in white, just to sort of sandwich the body in between the head. I did use clothespin to temporarily fix them a little bit so while the glue is drying they really stick together. I used the same glue, it's just a white PVA glue, nothing specific, for the hearts and for my quotes. And as you have seen, I did use a Stabilo awl to go around the quote or the word just to make it pop a little bit more. Now for the arms, I needed some holes about there where the shoulders would be. I just used a crocodile. You can use any tool where you can make holes. And then I did start by pushing it through the holes with I think it's my tweezer. Yes, I did use my tweezer. Once I have them threaded in, I just made a simple knot. I made sure that the knot is big enough that it doesn't go through the holes. So make sure that you don't make too big holes or you have to make a really big knot. After a while, I figured out it is much easier if I use a really big needle, one of those tapestry needles, to get those threads through the holes. And that's it, how I make my bookmark dolls. If I have inspired you, I really would love to see what you come up with. You can either tag me on Instagram or maybe you want to join my group, Facebook group, Bears Mixed Media and more, and show what you have done. I really like to connect with people and I love to see what you are doing. Now I hope you enjoyed this video and if you can share it, I really would appreciate it. See you next time!